I thought I was just her favorite student until I found a poem tucked inside her copy of Wuthering Heights. The title was my name. The last line read, "He'll never know what those eyes did to me." I sat there, shaking. The next day she asked me to stay after class and closed the door. When she bit down on my pencil in front of the whole class and whispered, "Still too soft," I felt something snap inside me. Not like a light switch, more like a tendon. That soft little stretch of who I thought I was finally giving way under pressure. Her lips were barely an inch from the eraser when she said it. Our eyes locked for just long enough that I forgot where I was. Forgot I was 17. Forgot this was AP English and she was 39 and the kind of woman whose voice makes boys flunk just to hear her say their name again. My name, which I hadn't even told her I liked. But she said it the right way. Every time. I thought it was just attention. The way she called on me more. The way her hand always brushed mine when she passed out quizzes. I thought maybe she just saw something in me. That potential she kept scribbling in red ink in the margins of every essay I bled over. But that day? That was the day I opened her copy of Wuthering Heights while she was out of the room. It fell open near the back. Highlighted passages. A pressed flower. Notes in the margins. And then, tucked halfway between chapter 30 and my own handwriting on her feedback sheet, because yes, she let me edit her lesson plans sometimes, was a folded page of notebook paper with no lines, just a single poem. The title was my name. First and last. Underlined twice. My knees started shaking before I read the first stanza. It wasn't just a love poem. It wasn't even erotic. It was obsessed. That last line? "He'll never know what those eyes did to me." I sat there holding it like it was radioactive. And it didn't feel like flattery. It felt like I'd just seen something I was never meant to know. Like I'd walked in on a crime scene and realized I was the body. The next day she asked me to stay after class. Said she needed help with the attendance software. Said it'd be quick. She waited for every single person to leave. Then she closed the door. And turned the lock. Update 1. She didn't say anything at first. Just walked over to her desk, turned the monitor so it faced away from me and clicked a few things. I remember the way the mouse moved under her fingers, how calm she was. How rehearsed it all felt. Then she looked up at me and smiled like I hadn't just read a poem that described my eyes as the color of absolution. "I know you saw it," she said, almost like a confession. But the smile never dropped. I didn't answer. Couldn't. My mouth felt like it belonged to someone else. "I've seen the way you look at me too," she added, leaning back in her chair now. "Don't pretend this is just me." That's when the shaking started again. Not just my hands this time, my whole body. But not because I was scared. Because she was right. She knew exactly what she was doing. She always had. The little glances over the top of her glasses. The way she'd lean over my desk just long enough for her perfume to linger. The way she'd say my name when I got a question right, slow, almost reverent. Like she wanted it to echo. And I had eaten it up. Every drop. "I have a family," she said suddenly. Not apologetic. Just factual. "You know that." I nodded. 2 kids. Husband's a defense attorney. Drives a black Tesla and once gave a guest lecture on constitutional law. I remember because he made a point to shake every student's hand except mine. She watched me carefully then. Like she was waiting for me to flinch. To moralize. To run. Instead, I just asked, "Why me?" She blinked. For the first time, caught off guard. Then, "Because you see me. You look at me like you're not afraid." My voice cracked when I said it. "You're my teacher. And you're not a child," she shot back. "Stop acting like one." The silence after that felt like someone had killed the oxygen in the room. I could hear the old radiator ticking. Then she stood, walked around the desk, and sat on the edge just a foot from me. Close enough that I could see the crack in her lipstick where her bottom lip quivered barely. Human for a second. Then gone. She reached behind her and pulled out the book. Wuthering Heights. "People misunderstand this story," she said softly, flipping to a marked page. "They think it's about love. It's not. It's about need. Obsession. The kind that makes you burn everything else down." Then she closed the book. Stared right at me. "Tell me to stop." I didn't. I should have. I wanted to. But I didn't. That was Tuesday. By Friday, I was spending lunch in her car. Parked in the far corner of the faculty lot behind the gym. She brought me coffee black, no sugar, exactly how I liked it. Said it made me feel older. Said I made her feel younger. Every time I asked her what we were doing, she'd just say, "We're choosing honesty." I wasn't allowed to text her. She made that clear. Too risky. Instead, she gave me an old burner phone. Said it was her niece's. Said she'd wiped it clean. She'd text me a single letter when she wanted to see me, K. I never figured out why K. Maybe it stood for my name. Or kiss. Or kill. Honestly, all 3 felt equally possible by the second week. Because it didn't stop. If anything, it escalated. I started lying to my friends. My mom. Told them I had tutoring after school. College prep. Internship hours. The truth was she started taking me on errands. Always with a story. One time she said she was taking me to help carry groceries because she'd hurt her wrist. Another time I was her assistant for grading papers. No one asked questions. Nobody stops a well-dressed woman in her mid-30s driving a Lexus with a quiet, serious-looking boy in the passenger seat. We'd sit in parking lots sometimes. Just sit. Her foot resting on the gas like she wanted to drive somewhere far, but never did. She told me about her husband then. How he used to be warm. How he used to write her letters. Before the promotions, she said. Before the firm turned him into someone polished and hollow. I asked her if she still loved him. She stared straight ahead and said, I love the version of him I remember. Then she turned to me. But he doesn't look at me the way you do. I wish I could say it stopped there. I wish I could say I ran or confessed or even just ghosted her. But something darker had started growing in me. Something that liked the way she touched my wrist in the dark. Something that needed her need. She was brilliant. Poetic. Unstable in that intoxicating way where every glance felt like a test you wanted to fail. And I was addicted. That Saturday she invited me to her house. Said the kids were with her sister. Said her husband had gone on a networking retreat. The word retreat made me laugh. I imagined him sipping wine in a cabin with other lawyers talking about billable hours while she paced their kitchen with shaking hands and a plan. I shouldn't have gone. But I did. She answered the door barefoot wearing a sweater I'd never seen before, gray, soft, a little too long in the sleeves. The kind of thing that feels like home and warning signs all at once. We didn't speak much. She showed me her garden. The family photo on the mantel, blurred out face where the daughter had spilled juice and smeared it years ago. She let me sit on their couch. Told me where the camera blind spots were. I remember looking at the framed certificates on the wall and thinking, this is what betrayal actually looks like. Quiet. Decorated. Domestic. That night, she read me poetry. Not hers. Plath. Neruda. Rilke. Then she asked if she could read the one she wrote me again. The poem. The one I found in the book. She read it slowly this time. And when she got to the last line, he'll never know what those eyes did to me, she looked at me like I was supposed to answer. So I did. I think I do now. She cried. Silently. One tear. Wiped it away before it reached her chin. Then kissed me. I stayed until midnight. She drove me home. Said she couldn't risk my scent in her house. Sprayed her car seats with Febreze on the way back. When I got out, she grabbed my hand and said, don't ever make me regret this. The next day, she didn't come to school. Monday either. I started to panic. Thought maybe she'd changed her mind. Thought maybe her husband had found something. Thought maybe she'd. But no. Tuesday morning, she walked into class like nothing had happened. Hair curled. Heels sharp. Smile calculated. She handed back our midterms and said, some of you really surprised me. Then she slid mine face down onto my desk and whispered, extra credit opportunity if you stay after. The whole class laughed like it was a joke. But I knew better. She'd written something on the back. A single sentence. He's starting to suspect. We have to be careful. And that's when I realized. This wasn't a story anymore. It was a plan. And I wasn't the only one who knew. Update 2. That night, I started keeping my bedroom door locked. Not because of her. Because of what I started doing to stay close to her. The thoughts. The lies. The way I'd sit in my bed rereading her handwriting like scripture. Trying to memorize the tilt of every letter, the exact pressure she used to write the word, eyes. The note she passed me, he's starting to suspect, looped in my head like a curse. I didn't know who he was at first. Not her husband. He was out of town again, litigating, she said. But the way she said it? Too fast. Too light. She was lying. And I didn't care. I just wanted to know what game we were playing now. Who the enemy was. I got my answer 2 days later. It was the substitute. Mr. Lowen. Mid-30s, army buzzcut, wore tight polos and smelled like expensive deodorant. He was covering for her that Monday and Tuesday when she'd vanished. But he'd stuck around. Kept showing up in her classroom during lunch. Pretending he needed papers. Pretending he knew where things went. I caught him rifling through her filing cabinet one afternoon while she was down in the office. What are you looking for? I asked from the doorframe. He jumped. Slammed it shut. Smiled like nothing happened. Just making sure she didn't leave behind any evaluations. We're supposed to co-review next month. Bullshit. He watched me as he said it. Too long. Too directly. Then he nodded toward the wall and said, she talks about you a lot. I didn't blink. Smart kid. Strong essays. You ever think about applying to Penn? He was fishing. I didn't answer. Just stared back until he cleared his throat and left. That night she texted me. K. But this time she added something else. Don't talk to Lowen. He's not who you think he is. I stared at the screen until my eyes hurt. Not who I think he is. I didn't sleep that night. Next morning, she pulled me into the teacher's lounge while the hall was still empty. Locked the door. Drew the blinds. He's not faculty, she said. He's my husband's friend. I think he's spying. I laughed. Couldn't help it. The word sounded ridiculous. Spying. Like we were in a Cold War affair, not hiding make-out sessions in her Lexus. But she was serious. Eyes glassy. Shoulders twitchy. No mascara. He's been at our house. Dinner twice last month. He always asks about my day. About school. About students. And then he just showed up here when Peter left town. Peter. The husband. The man I'd only seen in a photo on their wall. Hawaiian shirt, forced smile, hand resting on her shoulder like a weight. I asked her straight out. Does he know? Her silence lasted 8 full seconds. No, she whispered. But he's different now. He gets these moods. She didn't finish the thought. She didn't have to. I'd seen those bruises on her wrist last week. The ones she said were from falling on ice. and I believed her. Until that moment. Now I wasn't so sure. Now I wondered if he knew. And if he did, what kind of man waits silently instead of confronting the truth? Unless he wanted proof. Unless Lowen wasn't just spying. Unless he was collecting. I started checking behind me when I walked home. Started wearing a hoodie even when it was warm. Looking for cars that circled the block twice. Faces that held my gaze too long. Paranoia makes the world slow down. Makes sound carry different. Makes you think a dog barking at 2 a.m. means someone's outside your window. I told her I wanted to stop. Told her this was going too far. Too dangerous. And she nodded. She said all the right things. You're right. We need to protect ourselves. I was selfish. You're too young. She said those things. But the next day, she left something in my locker. A necklace. Nothing flashy. Leather string. Tiny glass vial hanging from it. Inside, a single eyelash. Sealed in clear glue. No note. Just that. I wore it anyway. That's how deep I was. By then, she'd stopped hiding the manipulation. She'd lean into me during class while reading passages from Jane Eyre. Say lines like, I am no bird and no net ensnares me, I am a free human being with an independent will. And she'd whisper the last part directly into my ear. Students noticed. My best friend, Ty, pulled me aside in the library and asked if I was okay. You've changed, he said. Like you're waiting for something all the time. You twitch when people talk to you. I almost told him. Almost. Then I remembered what she said that morning. Don't trust anyone who hasn't tasted what you have. And somehow that made sense. It all did. Until she gave me the second phone. Burner. New model. This one came in a gift bag. Inside was also a razor blade. Wrapped in a paper towel. With a sticky note. If they try to take you away, carve my name into your thigh so they know who you belong to. I dropped it. Literally dropped it. That was the moment it hit me. She was unraveling. And she was dragging me with her. That night, I didn't answer her messages. I turned off both phones. Stayed home. Watched old cartoons. Tried to remember who I was before her voice lived inside my head. Next morning, she wasn't at school. And neither was Mr. Lowen. And I thought maybe that was it. Maybe they'd both vanished. Maybe her husband had found out and buried them in a lake somewhere. Then third period rolled around. Announcement came over the loudspeaker. Will, my name, please report to the main office? My throat closed. Walked there slow. Dragged every step. Inside? Lowen. School counselor. And her husband. Peter. In a suit. Calm. Hands folded. Like a parent in a parent-teacher conference. Except this time I was the one being evaluated. Lowen closed the door. Peter leaned forward and smiled like we were about to discuss my future. You've been spending a lot of time with my wife, he said. Not a question. A bullet. I didn't respond. He continued. She speaks very highly of you. Talented writer. Gifted reader. Says your analysis of the yellow wallpaper made her cry. Still not a question. Just tension tightening around my ribs. Then he pulled out a folder. Set it on the table. I'd like to offer you an internship. Summer placement. At my firm. I blinked. What? Paid, he added. Serious work. Exposure to high-profile cases. Very few your age get this chance. I looked at Lowen. Stone face. Then back at Peter. You understand me? He said. Not about the internship. About everything. And I did. This wasn't generosity. It was a bribe. A leash. An opportunity to be watched. I didn't know what to say. My mouth opened but nothing came out. Peter reached across the table and patted my hand. Sometimes, he said, it's better to be on the inside. Then he stood. Smiled. Think about it. I know you're ambitious. So was I. He left. Lowen followed. And I sat there staring at the folder. Inside was a card. Typed, not handwritten. Just a sentence. If you go near her again, we will destroy you. That night, I found the necklace in pieces. Broken in my backpack. The vial shattered. The eyelash gone. And in its place? A new note. Crumpled. Tucked into my hoodie pocket. He reads my journals. Don't trust anything he says. I don't know who left it. I don't know who's lying anymore. I just know this. She's not safe. Neither am I. And someone's going to break. The question is who first? Update 3. I started watching her house. I know how that sounds. But I wasn't stalking. Not really. I wasn't knocking on windows or digging through trash cans. I just needed to see if she was alive. If she was real. If she existed outside of my phone and the 4 walls of that classroom and the insane space she'd carved out in my head. 3 nights in a row, I sat 2 blocks away in a parked car I borrowed from Ty while he was at his shift. He thought I was using it to drive to SAT tutoring. I watched the lights go on. Off. On again. At exactly 10:04 p.m. every night, the porch light flickered twice. Then went dark. On night 3, a man walked outside. Tall. Lean. Not Peter. Not Lowen. A new variable. I took photos. I don't know why. Maybe because it felt like proof. Maybe because I thought if something happened to me, someone could figure it out. Or maybe I just needed someone to finally look at me the way she used to. I sent her one of the photos. No message. Just the image. A minute later, my second burner phone buzzed. Her, don't come here again. Her, you're making it worse. Her, they're watching my kids now. Do you understand what you've done? My fingers hovered over the screen. What are you talking about? Who was he? Are you in danger? I didn't send any of those. Instead, I typed the only thing that felt true. Me, do you even want me? Or was I just leverage? No response. The next morning, I got called into the office again. But not for a threat. For an award. Apparently, I'd been nominated for a civic scholarship, something that didn't even exist on the school's website last week. The principal smiled too hard. Said I had friends in high places. Peter's name wasn't said, but it sat between every sentence like a ghost in a courtroom. I asked if she nominated me. He blinked. Hesitated. Then, she's on leave. Personal reasons. Is she okay? He smiled again. She's getting the help she needs. That night I got drunk. Stole a fifth of something cheap from Ty's kitchen cabinet and drank it under the old train bridge near 87th, the one that smells like piss and always has dead pigeons nearby. I sat on the concrete until I couldn't feel my teeth. Then my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize. Voicemail. I played it. Her voice. Breathless. Rushed. Whispered. You need to get rid of the phones. All of them. They're listening. Even the one in your backpack. I shouldn't be calling you. I shouldn't even remember your name. Click. I threw up. Right there in the gravel. Next day, her classroom was empty. Lights off. Papers gone. Desk clean. Even her name was scrubbed off the door plaque. Just room 2B. When I asked the janitor, he said she was transferred. Or fired. Depends on who you ask. No forwarding info. No goodbye. No trace. Even her lesson plans were gone from the school server. Like she'd never taught here at all. But I still had the poem. Folded. Hidden inside the liner of my laptop sleeve. I read it every night now. Not like love. More like scripture. Or instructions. And that's when it got worse. I woke up one morning with my door open. I never leave it open. On the floor was a book I hadn't touched in months. Wuthering Heights. Inside was a single Polaroid. Not a selfie. Not a landscape. It was me. Asleep. In my bed. From the hallway. From inside the house. No note. No signature. No fingerprints. I checked. I tried telling my mom. She said I was being dramatic. Said I needed a break from screens. Said maybe I was dreaming it all. I tried telling Ty. He nodded, said he'd seen the signs. Said I needed help. Then he texted someone. I caught a glimpse of the name, Peter. They're all in on it now. Every hallway feels like a trap. Every question on every quiz feels loaded. Even the guidance counselor gave me a safe space pamphlet and asked if I'd ever been inappropriately approached by a faculty member. I asked if she meant her. She just smiled. Sometimes the truth doesn't need to be said. It just needs to be managed. That word stuck with me. Managed. Like I was a story someone else was writing now. I started sleeping with a knife under my pillow. Started locking my backpack to my wrist. Started checking every room twice before entering. Started reading her poem backwards like maybe the key was in the reversal. Then the final blow came. An email. Anonymous. No subject line. Just a video attachment. Titled with my name. I hesitated. Clicked it. Her. Sitting in a hospital gown. Cameras in the corner of the ceiling. White walls. A red emergency pull cord behind her. She's crying. But it's fake. I know her fake cry. She's performed it for me. In that Lexus. In that classroom. In my dreams. And she says, I'm sorry. Then she says, he lied to me. Then she says, I didn't know he was recording us. Then she says, he threatened my children. Then she says, I was manipulated. Then she says, it was all him. And the screen cuts out. Just like that. Just like that. No context. No timestamp. Just that perfect little package of deniability. I turned my phone off. Snapped the SIM. Flushed the pieces. Deleted every backup. But it's too late. The hallway stares. The teachers flinch. The world is recalibrating. And me? I'm not a boy anymore. I'm not a student. I'm not a victim. I'm not a hero. I'm a variable. And someone's about to find out what happens when you corner a variable with nothing left to lose. Final update. She sent me a letter. Mailed? No return address. No postmark. Just a pale envelope slid between my chemistry textbook and the side of my locker like it had been placed there by hand. The handwriting was still hers. I knew it instantly. That exact slant. That slow, careful ink stroke she used when she was trying not to seem emotional. No salutation. Just one sentence. You killed the version of me that was trying to survive. I read it 10 times. I don't know what it meant. Or maybe I do. And that's why I haven't stopped hearing it in my head every night since. I tried burning it. Lit a match in the sink, let it curl into ash. But the words still lived. Still pulsed beneath my skin like something she wrote directly into my blood. They never pressed charges. I don't know if that's because she recanted or because there was never enough to begin with. Maybe Peter made it all disappear. Maybe I was part of some deal I never got to see signed. All I know is they called me into a final meeting near the end of spring. Guidance counselor. Principal. One officer. No Lowen. No Peter. They said the same thing 3 different ways. We think you've been through a lot. You're not in trouble, but there are concerns. This is a good opportunity to start fresh somewhere else. Then they handed me a manila envelope. Inside was a sealed recommendation letter and transfer forms for a school 40 miles away. Private. No paper trail. Tuition already waived. I asked who paid. They didn't answer. They didn't have to. They didn't expel me. They erased me. The scholarship vanished. My GPA froze. They gave me enough credits to graduate, but just barely. Like someone calculated exactly how much rope I needed to hang myself politely. My mom cried once during dinner. Said she never really liked that teacher. Asked me if I felt okay now. I told her I didn't feel anything. She nodded. Didn't ask again. Ty stopped talking to me. Started dating some girl who always called me that kid like I was folklore. My name was stripped from the yearbook. I checked. Twice. But she still lived in me. Still showed up in dreams. Sometimes I was back in her car and the heater was on and she was whispering Rilke into my ear. Other times I was the one driving and she was in the passenger seat, mouth taped shut, hands in her lap, staring at me like she was waiting to see where I'd take us. I haven't answered her last text. It came from a different number. No words. Just a photo. Me. Sleeping. Again. Different angle. Closer this time. This wasn't from her porch. It was from inside my room. Taken last week. I haven't told anyone. I just started sleeping in the garage. No windows. One entrance. Padlock on the inside. I dream of her standing in the hallway holding a lighter to that poem. Watching me burn. Some nights I miss her. Other nights I pray I never see her again. And some nights? Some nights I write her new poems in my head. And in the last line? I always kill someone. The end.